there, friends. Happy Monday to you. I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett here at KHOU 11 in Houston, and for Chief Meteorologist David Paul this evening. He's going to be back a little later this week, but it is time for your nightly tropical weather update. And since I saw you last Friday, we have had a couple of developments out in the Atlantic. That is pretty typical for this time of year as we get closer and closer to the peak of hurricane season, but we do have a lot to talk about in this edition. So let's go ahead and get right to it. We'll start with the Gulf right now. Not a whole lot going on. We've got an area of high pressure here. That's why things are kind of swirling the way that they are. High pressures go counterclockwise. So you've got storms moving east across Mississippi and Alabama, and then some westward convection here across even the Georgia, Carolina coast, and then down across Florida as well. Some of that trying to get back in the Gulf, but there's just way too much wind shear in the Gulf right now for any of this to even become a question of development. So yeah, there are a couple of thunderstorms, areas of storms out there in the Gulf, but nothing at all that has us concerned in the Gulf, at least in the way of tropical development at this point. What we're watching is actually way out in the Atlantic. Now, I did tell you last Friday that we had a couple of tropical waves coming off Africa, and those typically move westward into the Atlantic. This is usually where we start to watch for some kind of tropical development when those waves get going. We have two actually that have made it off the coast over the weekend. One of them a little more organized than the other. This one out here, I'm not really concerned about at all. It's junky. It's not able to get organized. We doubt that it's going to be able to. The one behind it, though, already has a little bit of higher convection, stronger storms, no center of circulation right now, at least not on satellite, but you can see very tall thunderstorms in that tropical wave that's come off the coast of Africa. So this is the one that we're actually going to be watching a little more carefully, the second of the two coming off of Africa. This is the one that, as of tonight, has a 70% chance of developing within the next 7 days. Now, that could be tomorrow, that could be 7 days from now. Over the next week, though, that's when we expect that to develop. There's actually one up to the north on that high pressure zone, 10% chance of development. And there's one, again, the one right ahead of that. I'm not really concerned about that one either. So yes, there are three zones we're watching. These have a 10% chance. We're going to focus on the one that has a 70% chance. And notice over the next 7 days, this is where generally the zone they have it. So we're talking about a long ways out before we even begin to pinpoint exactly where this thing could head. If it even strengthens into a storm, 70% is not 100%, so it's not guaranteed that this thing can get its act together. It is up against a lot to become a named storm. There's a lot against it in the Atlantic right now, which is good news. I will show you this, though, what we're watching. Again, it's way too far out to pinpoint where this thing could go if it even becomes a storm. It doesn't even have a center yet, so it's way too far out to try to determine that. I will show you this, though. Based on our current steering pattern, we've got a big Bermuda high in the Atlantic. We've also got the heat dome we've been talking about here over Texas. This is the one that's been keeping us warm, or at least will be here for the next couple of weeks as it sets up over Texas. Typically on a pattern like this, and you can almost see it with these areas of development, on the north side they're going that way, south side they're coming toward the west, and that's because, again, high pressure zones are rotating clockwise. So they're going to get that flow easterly on the north side of them, westerly on the south side. So what generally is expected to happen, again, too far out to pinpoint exactly, but in general, we would expect either one of these waves to kind of follow along that Bermuda high, kind of between Bermuda and the East Coast. That's very typical with storms like this when we get a high pressure zone out here this time of year. So again, can't say for sure, but looking at this current steering pattern, and you can almost see it the way the Hurricane Center's drawn their zone. It's got that little curve right at the end. They're kind of expecting the same thing for it to follow around that high pressure zone. That high pressure is almost expected to kind of suck it in and link it in and take it around the side of it. Again, could this change? Absolutely. We're always going to watch it, especially when we have that high of a probability of a named storm. But the current steering setup that we have, especially with this big high over Texas in the southeast, this is not a storm and not a setup we would expect somebody to necessarily get into the Gulf. We'll watch it, but for right now, nothing to get too worked up about, nothing to write home about. We'll see how things go, though, over the next few days. Another reason that we're not, extremely worried about this becoming a major system is because there's a lot of dust out here still. You can actually see a couple of those highs wrapping around with the dust inside of them. So there's just dust all over the place in the Atlantic. Tropical systems do not like dust. So even if this thing does become a named storm, the likelihood of it really intensifying at this point is pretty low. Now, of course, stranger things have happened. We'll watch it, but it's got dust to work against. It also has a lot of wind shear. Look at the wind shear right now over the Caribbean and the Gulf. Wind shear tears storms apart, or at a minimum makes it very hard for them to continue to strengthen. So if it does carry along that southern route, it's going to be sheared up if it even comes close to the Caribbean. But again, current thinking would be a more out to sea track. We'll watch it and see what happens. But wind shear in the Gulf, pretty typical for this type of year in an El Nino pattern. We get these jet streams that continue west to east, and it kind of limits our tropical development. That's why we've expected a below average hurricane season. National Weather Service, NOAA, and Colorado State University all calling for a below average season, mainly because of El Nino and the way that these wind patterns are. So generally, that's good news. Again, it only takes one storm, but this one right now, we're going to kind of put an asterisk on it. We'll watch it, but it is not a major concern for us in the Gulf at this moment. Sea surface temperatures are plenty hot, though. It's bath water out there. 85 to 90 is what those water temperatures are. So if for some reason a storm can overcome the dust and the wind shear, it's got a lot of energy to work with in the ocean. There's just more things against storms right now as opposed to working for the storms right now. This is the time of year we typically really start to watch, though. Peak of hurricane season September 10th. We're about a month away from that. And really between August 10th and October 10th, you see we really climb that hill there pretty quickly. So we're just beginning to climb into that hill where we're getting closer and closer to the peak of hurricane season. So this is a time frame we want to watch. But again, that thing out in the Atlantic right now, all indications would be it gets picked up by that Bermuda high and it goes outward into the Atlantic. Still a long ways away. We got a week to a week and a half to watch this thing. As of right now, again, nothing to get too worked up about. We've already had Arthur and Bertha, both of those tropical storms. Next name on the list is Cristobal. If this thing develops, that's likely what it would be after that. Dolly is the next name on the list. So our 7-day forecast, not impacted by tropical weather at all. Again, we have 3 areas we're watching. Really only one of them is likely to become a storm, and that one even looks like it's going to stay out to sea, at least right now. Our big story here in southeast Texas is the heat and the humidity. We had rain today. We're not going to have much more for the next 7 days. Very slight rain chance for Tuesday. There could be an isolated storm or two, but odds still look pretty low. That's going to keep us hotter tomorrow, high of 96. Mostly dry Wednesday up to 97, and then the end of the week, sunny and bone dry, 98 for Thursday and Friday, also 98 Saturday and Sunday. Beautiful sunshine, but there's not going to be any rain to cool us off. So it's going to be a very hot weekend. Even next week, we get up to 99 degrees on Monday with barely any rain chance. So the next 7 days here in southeast Texas and Houston, the heat and the dry weather is going to be the story. Of course, we'll always watch the tropics, though, and see what happens with that area of development. But for right now, again, nothing to get too worked up about if you are in the Gulf. We'll keep you updated as things develop, though. You can catch this live tropical weather update every day of the week at 9 p.m. streaming on KHOU Plus, on Facebook, and also on our YouTube page. So tune in there. If you want to tune in as well for our newscast, our next one's coming up at 10 p.m. for more on your local forecast and, of course, your latest news headlines. For now, though, I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett. We'll see you back here tomorrow.